My daughter locked me in the bathroom at her wedding for 2 days. Not by accident. Not because she panicked. She did it to keep me out of the pictures, to erase me from her perfect new life. I did not scream. I did not beg. But while she raised her glass and called another woman mom, I made the coldest decision of my 72 years. My name is Vera Lindholm, and the first sound I heard after the lock clicked was laughter, the light. Polished, kind people give when they want to impress each other. It drifted through the crack under the staff bathroom door, along with muffled music from the waterfront hall. Someone announced the start of the speeches. Chairs scraped. Glasses clinked. Then I heard her voice, my daughter. Celine. To the woman who raised me, she said, and the room erupted in applause. For a second, I thought she meant me. I held my breath. But then I heard another voice, warm and proud Callum's mother. Celine leaned into her. That is you, she said. You taught me everything. My throat tightened, as if someone had reached inside and pulled my voice out by the roots. I pressed my palm against the cold metal door and whispered her name. Just once. Celine. No response. Only more laughter. Plates clinking. A champagne cork bursting. Someone teased that they should get a picture of the two moms together. I sank to the floor, the tile freezing through my dress. My fist hit the door once, just once. I waited for footsteps. A gasp. Anyone realizing the mother of the bride was missing? Nothing. Hours slid into a blur. At some point, I stopped pounding. My hands went still on my lap. Something in me, something soft and loyal, shifted out of place. Not broken, just done. When I get out, I whispered into the dark. I am ending everything she thinks she owns. The music swelled again, and I closed my eyes, letting the cold settle into my bones. What kind of daughter locks her own mother away, and what kind of mother walks out without looking back? When the lock finally opened on the second morning, and the staff found me slumped against the door, I did not tell them what happened. I just said, I need to go home. Their faces softened, but I kept moving. Silence was the only thing holding me together. On the drive back to Tacoma's North End, my mind slipped to the years that came before the wedding, the ones that shaped both of us. Celine was only 10 when her father died. I remember sitting at our tiny kitchen table, my hands wrapped around hers. She whispered, "It's just us now, Mom." I told her, "Then we will take care of each other." She nodded hard, like a child trying to be braver than she felt. Those early years were built out of exhaustion and hope. In the mornings, I worked in the port offices typing manifests, answering radios, signing papers with hands still stiff from sleep. At night, I scrubbed boats behind the marina. The salt dried into my hair. The cold bit into my knuckles. I rarely ate more than a tortilla or a bowl of rice, saving every dollar so Celine would never feel the kind of fear I grew up with. When she needed new school uniforms, I found them secondhand. I stitched hems by lamplight while she sat beside me doing homework. One night, she smiled at me and said, "When I get married someday, you'll stand right next to me. You're the person I'll always want beside me." That promise felt like oxygen. I carried it for decades, but high school changed her. She moved through the halls like the world owed her attention. She slammed doors when I asked simple things, like where she was going or when she'd be home. Once I said, "Celine, talk to me," she shot back, "I am not a child. Stop acting like I need you for everything." The words stung, but I softened my voice. "It is just concern, honey." She rolled her eyes. "Whatever. You worry too much." I told myself it was normal. Teenage moods, growing pains. I believed that love and sacrifice would lead her back to me. But the girl who once held my hand at night eventually became the woman who pretended I wasn't even in the room. I bought that little craftsman house in Tacoma's North End when I was in my early 40s. It took me more than 30 years of steady payments, double shifts, and weekends cleaning boats to finish it. Every plank, every coat of paint, every repaired pipe was done with one purpose, so Celine would never fear losing her home the way I once did. When she got engaged, she came into the kitchen holding out her hand, the ring catching the light. "Mom, Callum proposed," she said, breathless. I hugged her tight. "Then you should start your life without worry." She pulled back, confused. "This house," I said, touching the counter I had refinished myself, "is yours now." She froze, then laughed as if she had won a prize she knew she deserved. "Mom, really, yes," I said. "You and Callum should have a solid start." She threw her arms around me. "You're the best." "Truly." At the engagement party, she announced it proudly. My mom gave us her house. People clapped, cheered, toasted. I stood there smiling, even when someone said, "That is so generous." "Vera, most parents cannot do that." Celine beamed, soaking in every ounce of admiration. But I did not transfer the deed. Not yet. I told myself I would finalize it after the wedding, when everything settled. Just paperwork, just a signature. Within a week, Celine was walking through rooms, pointing at walls. "This one needs to go," she said. Callum nodded. "We could open up the space, make it modern." I tried to speak. "That wall is load-bearing. You would need permits." Celine waved a hand at me. "Mom, we know. We will figure it out." They spoke over me, around me, through me. One night, I overheard Celine say, "Once we remodel, Mom can move into the back room permanently. It is small, but she does not need much." Callum murmured, "It works. We will have more space." I stood in the hallway holding a basket of laundry. Neither of them noticed. So I moved into the tiny back bedroom on my own, quietly, folding my clothes into the narrow dresser. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself it was still a gift of love. But a gift can turn sharp the moment the person receiving it decides they were entitled to it all along. The comments started small, almost careless, but each one left a mark. One morning, I stepped out of my room, smoothing the blouse I had worn for years. Celine glanced up and frowned. "Mom, that outfit is outdated. Please do not wear it when Callum's friends come by." I touched the fabric. "It is clean and it fits." I did not think, "Just try something else." She cut in, already turning away. I kept quiet. Silence was becoming a habit. Later that week, guests arrived for a pre-wedding dinner. I stepped toward the entry to greet them. But Celine's hand shot out. "Mom, please do not hover. Let me handle this. I am only saying hello," I murmured. "Exactly. And it makes things tense." Callum overheard and chimed in softly. "Maybe your mom should relax tonight. Big crowds can be tiring." "I said I am fine," I replied. He smiled politely, but the look he exchanged with Celine said more than his words. One night, as I walked past the living room, I heard my name between their whispers. "We will take down that wall once Mom is out of the picture," Celine said. Callum lowered his voice. "Just keep things smooth until after the wedding." My hand froze on the doorframe. They did not know I was listening. Later that evening, out of nowhere, Celine wrapped her arms around me in the kitchen. "Mom, I am sorry if I have been sharp. I am just stressed." I held her back gently. "I am here to help, sweetheart." She nodded against my shoulder. And for a moment, I let myself believe things were shifting. But at the rehearsal dinner, she pulled me aside. Her voice clipped. "Why did you talk so long to Aunt Marcy?" People said it threw off the vibe. I was simply catching up. I whispered, "Well, next time, please just follow the plan from then on." The plans continued without me. Choices were made behind closed doors, and invitations came with the understanding that my presence should be quiet, small, and almost invisible. The distance between us widened, and I felt it settling into the walls of the house we all pretended belonged to her. The wedding weekend stretched across 3 days, each one packed tighter than the last. By the first morning, Celine was already directing people with the confidence of someone who believed the world should move exactly the way she wanted. I approached her with the printed speech I had practiced for weeks. Celine, sweetheart. I thought I might say a few words during the dinner. She did not even look up from the mirror. No, Mom, your speeches get too emotional. We need everything clean and simple tonight. I can keep it short, I offered. Please, she said, adjusting her earrings. Just let this be smooth. Callum's mother floated in then, wrapping her arms around Celine. You look stunning. Darling, she said. Let me fix your veil. Celine melted into her. I stepped forward to help, but Celine held up a hand. Mom. Not now. Later. While I waited near the hallway, I overheard Celine whispering to a bridesmaid. She is too much. I do not want her in my photos. The bridesmaid murmured something back. Celine replied, sharper. I said I do not want her in them. I stepped back, breath caught in my throat. When she finally noticed me, she walked over quickly. Mom, she hissed. Please just stay out of the way today. I thought I was, I said quietly. Then keep doing it. During a break between preparations, a bridesmaid approached me with a tight smile. Vera, your dress seam is bunching. Come with me. I will help you fix it. You fix. I followed her down a side hallway into a small staff bathroom. She gestured inside. Stand under the light. I can see better. I stepped in. The door swung shut behind me. A click echoed through the small space. Through the door. Celine's voice cut sharp and low. I said stay out of the way. At first, I knocked. I called her name. No one answered. Hours slid past. Then a night, then another. My tears dried on my cheeks. My voice quieted. Somewhere in the silence, something inside me shifted into place, solid and cold. By the time footsteps finally approached again, the part of me that used to hope was gone. A pair of venue staff found me late on the second morning. The door creaked open, and a young woman gasped, Ma'am, were you in here all night? I steadied myself on the wall. I just need fresh air, I whispered. Do you want us to find the bride? She asked. No. My voice was calm. No. Thank you. I walked out without looking for Celine or Callum. Their celebration could continue without me. The taxi ride back to the house was silent. When I stepped through the front door, the place felt strange, like a stage set where I no longer belonged. I did not bother calling out for anyone. My footsteps carried me straight to the small back bedroom, the one they treated as my corner. Inside my closet sat an old metal lockbox I had kept for decades. The lid groaned when I opened it, like it recognized the weight of the moment. I laid everything on the bed. Tax receipts, maintenance invoices, bank papers with my name typed neatly across the top. And then, the deed. The paper was slightly yellowed around the edges from age, but the print was clear. Vera Lindholm, sole legal owner. My breath left me in a single, steady exhale. I traced my fingertip over my name, every letter of it tied to years of labor and sacrifice. All the nights I worked 2 jobs. All the times I chose rice and beans so Celine could have new shoes. All of it rested in that document, something Celine had never once bothered to check. You locked the wrong person out, I said softly into the quiet room. I folded the deed again, slow and precise, as if sealing away the last piece of the woman I had been before the wedding. Then I took out a small notebook from the nightstand. A list formed easily. Contact an attorney. Secure a private buyer. Open a new account. Book a one-way flight. Pack only what matters. Every line steadied my pulse. No anger, no yelling, just the calm of someone who finally understood her own power. For the first time in years, I closed the notebook and felt no fear at all. The following Monday, I took a bus downtown and walked into a modest law office near Pacific Avenue. The man behind the desk, Robert McKinney, real estate attorney, looked up from a stack of files. Mrs. Lindholm. Yes, I said. Taking the seat, he offered. What can I help you with today? I placed the deed on his desk. I want to sell my house quietly. No signs. No online listings. He adjusted his glasses, scanning the page. You are the sole owner. He said, you can sell without your daughter's signature or involvement. His tone was calm, matter of fact. But inside me, something loosened. So it is that simple, I asked. It is your legal right, he replied. Do you have a buyer in mind? Someone private, I said, preferably fast. I know a couple looking to pay in cash. Young, serious, no complications. When I left his office, the air felt lighter, as if the weight of the house had shifted off my shoulders and into my hands. That evening, at home, Celine and Callum stood over the kitchen counter, a renovation sketch spread out between them. Callum tapped the paper. If we knock this wall down, we can expand the dining room. Celine nodded. Once Mom moves into assisted living, we will have room. I walked past them quietly. Celine barely glanced up. Mom, we are talking, she said. I know, I replied. The private showing happened 2 days later. A young couple arrived with hopeful eyes and quick questions. The place has good bones, the woman said. The price is fair, her husband added. Robert handled the paperwork, and I stood by, steady, polite. When the final signing day came, I sat beside the attorney and placed my initials where he pointed. Last signature, Mrs. Lindholm, he said. My hand did not shake. Minutes later, he confirmed the transfer. The funds have been deposited into your new account. I nodded once. Thank you. Walking out of that office, I felt the air shift again, cleaner, colder, honest. Back home, I opened my small closet and pulled out an old suitcase. I packed slowly 3 dresses, 2 sweaters, my documents, and the watch Celine's father gave me before he died. The house was no longer theirs, and soon it would no longer hold me either. I woke before dawn, the house silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. Celine and Callum were still asleep in the room that used to be mine. I did not leave a note. There was nothing left to explain. I carried my suitcase down the hallway, careful not to let it brush the walls. At the front door, I paused only long enough to slip the spare key into an envelope addressed to Robert McKinney. He would know what to do with it. He had promised he would hand it over to the new owners personally, outside. The air was cold enough to sting my cheeks. A taxi pulled up, headlights washing over the porch I had repaired with my own hands. Seattle-Tacoma Airport, the driver asked. Yes, I said, settling into the back seat. Straight there. The city moved past the windows in soft blurs. I thought of nothing and everything Celine's first steps, her graduation, the shift in her voice when she started speaking to me like I was a shadow on the wall. I did not cry. That part of me had already been drained dry in the locked bathroom. At the airport, I moved through security with the ease of someone who had rehearsed leaving long before the decision was spoken out loud. Once I found my seat on the plane, I pulled out my phone. Celine's name stared back at me. For a moment, I felt the familiar tug, the instinct to give her one more chance, one more explanation, one more opening to be the child I raised. My thumb hovered before I finally tapped block contact. The phone dimmed. The decision settled into my chest like a stone that finally found the bottom. Hours later, while I crossed state lines in the air. Robert handed the house keys to the new owners as arranged. And at nearly the same moment, Celine arrived home with a planner full of renovation notes. She opened the door to find movers carrying boxes into her living room. "What are you doing?" "This is my house," she snapped. Robert stepped forward, calm as ever. "Miss Lindholm, your mother sold the property. She had full legal right." Confusion cracked into disbelief, then panic. Calls flew between families. Callum's mother demanded answers. A bridesmaid admitted what happened at the wedding. Within hours, Callum's entire family severed ties with Celine, calling her behavior dangerous and cruel. I did not hear any of this firsthand. But by the time my plane touched down, the consequences had already started speaking for me. Astoria greeted me with the kind of quiet I had not felt in years. The air smelled of salt and wood, and the little room I rented above a bakery came with creaky floors and a window that looked toward the river. No one here knew my story. No one expected anything from me. They just called me Miss Lindholm, the way people used to address women with respect they had earned, not demanded. I settled into the rhythm of the town quickly. One morning, I walked into the old Lighthouse Museum and asked the gray-haired volunteer at the counter, "Do you need help with anything?" She glanced up, smiled softly. "We always need hands." "Can you greet visitors?" "I can do that," I said. "Then welcome aboard," she replied, handing me a name tag. My days began to fill again. I answered questions for tourists, dusted display cases, and listened to stories from fishermen who wandered in on slow afternoons. After closing, I would walk along the pier, knitting tucked under my arm, letting the sound of gulls replace thoughts that once kept me awake at night. Silence became my answer to everything Celine had done. I no longer needed to defend myself or explain the past. The quiet held me, steadier than any apology she might have offered. 2 weeks after I arrived, Robert forwarded a thick envelope to my new address. Inside were legal documents so detailed they barely needed explanation. Callum's family had filed a lawsuit against Celine concealment and endangerment. The wedding staff had provided sworn statements describing the locked bathroom and the 2 days I spent inside. Callum filed for a full annulment. His parents cut her off entirely, releasing a statement distancing themselves from her actions. Friends drifted away. Her employer placed her on leave. Her social world collapsed inwards like wet paper. I sat at my small table, reading each page slowly. The last document confirmed the annulment. Celine Lindholm, alone. The future she had designed without me had been uprooted at its foundation. I closed the envelope gently and whispered, "I did not ruin her world. She ruined it when she locked that door." That evening, I walked to the pier and watched the gulls circle above the water, their wings steady in the wind. Peace, the real kind, settled into my chest for the first time in many years. If you want more stories like this one, remember to like, leave a comment, or subscribe for the next chapter of my life.